Good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for our employee town hall on the employee satisfaction survey results. And Jenny, do we have representatives from Probolsky online at this point? I was just checking.
So yeah,
we need to
Alyce
take a
actually
minute
just
before we start. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Alyce just joined us.
Super.
You can actually see her there. I would just ask if you are not a person who is talking to mute yourself. And some people, it appears like you have your camera on, but it's blocked, so we don't actually see you. We just see a blank screen. So just double check that you have your camera turned off if you want it turned off. But if you have your camera turned on, we'd love to see your smiling face. So.
Well, thanks, Jenny. And
yep.
Good morning, Alyce. Welcome to our employee town hall. We look forward to hearing from you. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll just make a few introductory remarks, and then I'll turn it over to Jenny, who will also say a few introductory remarks, and then turn it over to Probolsky. And then after we have the presentation from Probolsky on kind of their interpretation or kind of their view of the survey results, then we'll talk about next steps. What are we going to do with this information and how will we carry forward? And so just a few notes on this. As we discussed last Monday at the employee town hall meeting, the employee survey is really part of an iterative process of just learning about our organization, taking the main signals from our workforce about what we're strong at, what are some strong areas in our culture, and where are some areas where we need attention and we need to improve. And so we did the Veritas cultural assessment about 18 months ago. This is kind of aligned with that in terms of just learning about our organization so that we can take appropriate actions for a healthy, safe, and productive workplace. That's what I think we all want. And there's intentional actions that we can all take working together to move us in that direction. And so that's what this discussion is about. It's about learning and then taking that learning so we can carry it forward with mindset changes as well as direct action for a productive and healthy culture. Jenny, let me turn it over to you for an introduction. And before I do that, I do want to just thank our survey team, which has been Jenny, Susan Finarelli, and Cindy Mester. They worked with Probolsky to get this effort going. We also had an employee focus group that reviewed the questions and helped advise the team on important things that we wanted to ask employees as part of this learning process. So Jenny, a big thank you to you and the team. And I'll turn it over to you and I'll look for who's not muted.
Thanks, Wyatt. So I'll get started introducing Probolsky, but first, if people do have questions throughout the meeting, we do have the chat function available. There is also the at town hall meeting email, so you can send an email to that email, and I will actually see it, and I think Susan will see it as well. So if you have a question that way. To get us started, and also like to thank, there was an employee focus group who did review the questions before the survey got sent out, along with all of the expertise that Probolsky Research brought to the table. This is what they do. They do this all the time. They had a lot of good feedback for us in terms of best practices as well, which you will also see during the presentation. So Alyce Basil has been our, do we call you our project manager, Alyce?
Sure, if you'd like to. That's fine.
So Alyce has been our project manager on the Probolsky side, and she will be presenting the results of the survey. And then, like Wyatt said, I will then take over from her and talk a little bit about next steps. So I will let Alyce take it away. And just to mention that Probolsky also did our community survey as well. So, and I think we provided that link when we sent out the employee survey information, so you could see kind of what their results slides looks like. So this might look very familiar to some people who looked at the community results slides. And Alyce, do you have those all ready to share, or would you like me to share?
I am all set, ready to share.
Okay, great. So I will turn it over to Alyce.
Thank you. All right, I'm not usually using Teams, so just making sure screen share is looking good.
Sorry, Alyce, we actually see your whole screen. So we see the preview on the left side, and then the slide you're currently viewing is in the middle. So I don't know if you want to pick the one. Ooh, now really big.
Okay, let me stop sharing for a second. I apologize. It's 2023 and we're still 2024. Actually, we're still figuring out screen share sometimes. We're a Zoom shop, so right. Let me try it this way. All right, how about now?
Yeah, it's still showing like your whole, I guess that's PowerPoint.
It's very odd because I'm sharing the full screen. It's very odd.
Oh, you might have to select share your screen versus share the thing.
Okay.
And like I said, I have it up so I can share it if you want me to. You would just have to tell me when to change the slide.
And if you just shift it to full slideshow mode, that should help.
Yeah.
It is shifted. It is on full slide. I don't know why you guys are seeing. I think it has to do because I have two screens hooked up. Try it this way.
There you go.
Okay, I think it's because I had dual monitors set up.
Now it's back to the other one. Oh, now it's back to the big one.
Okay, all right.
So how
I apologize.
now it works.
Okay, I'm not going to touch anything, but now I cannot see anybody else. So if you have any questions, please just speak up because I can't see anybody anymore. So sorry about that. Thank you for having me here today representing Probolsky Research to discuss the results of your employee survey. So just as a brief overview, so this was a survey that we conducted primarily online, though employees did have the option to complete the survey by phone if they would like, in both English and Spanish. We fielded this for about 3 weeks and had about a 68% participation rate among employees. So just as kind of a introduction to this, we want to just remind everybody that confidentiality is our top priority. We understand the depth of complexity that comes with being candid and putting forth opinions about the places that you work. And so we want to just remind everybody that we do not share the survey results in a way that can be traced back to individuals. We are never going to say, you know, Jenny from this department said this, and really sharing that with the leadership team. It is important to us that you have that confidentiality. We are going to continue to work closely with city leadership and departmental leadership for the departments that are larger to maintain anonymity. So when we had a larger department that we could work with to really identify some more nuanced responses that we saw, that is information that we are providing to the city, as well as the EAC, to identify specific challenges that may be occurring within different areas of the organization, as well as different demographics and those tailored recommendations that go with it. Ultimately, you know, we want and we're excited that the city is taking action on these results and really taking it seriously. We want this to be an impactful experience for all of you. So with that, I'm going to jump into the presentation. This is a little bit of a condensed, but still all of the questions. Some of them I might go through a little bit more quickly than others just for the sake of time, but again, I'm happy to answer questions. So our kind of overall findings and recommendations that we have provided to the city based on what we're seeing in the data, kind of industry best practices and different things going on with our experience. So what we find is that a strong majority of employees at the City of Falls Church are satisfied with their jobs and they feel like they're part of something meaningful in their service to the community. That was really a common theme that we saw throughout, is that you all really love that you are supporting the city and supporting the residents. 3 out of 4 feel valued and appreciated, and that the city supports their work-life balance. However, we do see some feeling a little bit overworked and understaffed, and maybe that their bandwidth and their availability in terms of individual employee level and at a department-wide scale may not be as considered in citywide goal decisions. And so we don't want to discount, even though we have, this high satisfaction, we want to make sure that we are addressing all of these issues. Only about half employees feel that they're provided the opportunity for growth and promotions, though 3 and 4 feel they are growing professionally. So we want to kind of dig into that and figure out why, everyone feels like they're maybe growing, but where might be the opportunity to make sure that the city is fostering an environment where you can see yourselves working long term. We found that work-life balance, pay, and culture are all really important to you as employees, though you may not be as satisfied on these dimensions as we might want to see. We found that majority of employees are okay with those who are eligible to work remotely. They are okay with that kind of system. Some are a little bit more in favor of a hybrid system, but overall there is pretty strong majority support for teleworking options. We did see some concerns over favoritism and lack of accountability in the organization, though most people are reporting positive relationships with their coworkers and supervisors, but there is some tension potentially with employees being treated equally and fairly, at least the perception that that is happening. We also found that some employees maybe aren't as clear on the direction of the city and their role within it, and that there's a lack of potential transparency with change management, decision-making, and resource allocation. Now, again, this isn't, an exercise in critiquing any one person, critiquing the city, just our observations based on the data and really looking forward and how we can make sure that all of these are addressed in a meaningful way. So our recommendations that you'll see based upon what we saw in the data, and again, best practices, are to maintain telework options, but make sure that we have clear policies on the need for availability during working hours, continuance of performing essential job functions, inappropriate use of leave. We want to make sure that telework employees are being treated in the exact same way as those who are on site so that we don't have any perceptions of inequity. We're recommending to develop and define a central mission for the city and clearly communicate how each department contributes to that mission. You're all kind of working towards a central goal, so making sure that everybody understands where they stand in that and what their role is in achieving that mission. We also are going to recommend, these next two kind of go hand in hand, is that the city starts highlighting each department, spotlighting their current and past accomplishments to promote equity and understanding, and promoting interdepartmental communication and collaboration. So what we find, and this is not unique to the city, is that when there are so many different departments and when you have so many different locations and people doing such different things, it can be easy to have the departments and the locations really kind of segmented and isolated from each other. And that can kind of lead to some different tensions within an organization because these are not the people that you're seeing every day. You may not know exactly what it is that they do for the city, how their role might affect you as an employee and within your department. So making sure that everybody kind of knows everybody and what's going on can really help with that. We recommend instituting and enforcing standards of performance and accountability. This is kind of a blanket thing we would recommend for any city or any organization. We're recommending involving employees in organizational decision-making with opportunities for input and clear communication. Involving employees in the allocation of resources, fully transparent communication about where money's going, where things are being allocated, why certain decisions are being made. We think that the city is really heading in the right step with the EAC being established, just making sure that employees feel open and able to express their ideas as well. We recommend developing clear paths for employee growth and the associated training and professional development. Every organization, the city is not unique in this way. We want to make sure that you have happy employees and employees who want to stay there long term, and that you as employees see this as a place that you can really establish and maintain a career at. And so making sure that you see the path moving forward is going to be really important. And then finally, just improving across the organization communication. I'm a little bit biased because all of my degrees are in communication, but I think it's an essential part of an organization. There are so many moving parts. It's like its own ecosystem, and everybody has to be in communication, know what's going on, understand why certain decisions are being made, why things are happening the way they are, why you may be moving in one direction or another. So making sure we're really going into all of that. And then finally, tapping into the small town feel that makes Falls Church so great. So back when we did the community survey last year, we personally were so surprised to hear about how involved everybody was and how many committees there were and what percentage of residents were involved with the city's organization in some way. And so you have this great system within the city itself. And so making sure that that is spreading throughout working for the city as well. All right, now I'm just going to jump through and kind of go through question by question. Again, I'll be going through these relatively quickly just for the sake of time, but feel free to, I'm happy to dig into any one of these further. So what we found is that about 83% feel satisfied with their current job. And among those who are satisfied, you'll see with each one of these slides, we have kind of the main findings, and then we break it down. So among those who said they agree that they're satisfied, how many are strongly versus somewhat? In this case, you can see we have 43% who are very satisfied with their jobs. 90% feel part of something meaningful at the City of Falls Church. And I think given that you are in public service, that certainly makes sense, and being able to connect with residents and help them and really keep the city operating at its high functionality definitely taps into that. And we see 61% who are strongly agreeing with that. 78% indicate that they feel valued as an employee, and about a little bit split half there on the agreement. 78% feel appreciated for the work that they do. Very important. Gratitude is a really big thing in organizations, certainly right now, but obviously it's always been important. Make sure that you feel recognized and appreciated. So 56%, so a little over half, feel like they know where they're going as an organization, how the city's going to get there, and the part that they can play in making that happen. And this really ties into one of those recommendations that we had of making sure that there is a central mission and that everybody knows what their role is in that, so that you can continue to work towards that as more of a one company feel rather than all these different departments and all these different locations working separately. 83% feel that they have job security. Obviously, the closer we can get to 100 on anything is great. This is a good number, especially with all of the layoffs that are happening on a large scale right now. Having some job security feeling, especially at such a high level, that is a positive measure. So in terms of having opportunities for growth and promotions, this is where we're a little bit divided in that only about 50% feel that they have those opportunities. 75% agree that The city supports the work-personal life balance of their employees. This is a really sought-after measure for really any organization because it is so important to employees to have that balance. And so, again, we'll probably never achieve 100% on anything, on any employee survey that we ever do. But 3 and 4 is pretty good. Obviously, that gives us a benchmark that we want to move towards to make that even higher and figure out where there might be those discrepancies. 71% agree they have the resources to do their job well. In terms of this, we would just recommend doing some assessments to determine what resources people do not feel that they have, just to make sure that we're meeting those needs as required. 79% feel they're provided with the training to fulfill their job responsibilities. Kind of the same note here. We want to look for where those discrepancies might be, though again, we're pretty happy with these numbers as it is a strong majority. 71% agree that the city provides an environment where creative ideas and problem solving are encouraged. So we'd like this number to be higher, but still very strong. 74% agree that the culture is caring and supportive. And this is something we really saw in the open-ended responses, is people really feeling like they had a strong relationship with their coworkers, with their supervisors, and that it really was a supportive environment. So we've got 49% here who agree that the city has a climate of openness and transparency. Not being in the depths of your organization, we're not going to be able to necessarily explicitly identify, where this might be happening, but this is definitely something that we would push to investigate further and kind of work towards a goal of getting this swung much more in the positive direction. 86% of employees feel that their ideas are valued by their immediate supervisor. So really good positive relationships happening between supervisors and their supervisees here. 89% agree that their immediate supervisor respects them as an employee. So high level of respect between the two. 89% feel respected by other employees at the city. So there's really kind of, again, this indication that there is a culture of support and respect and camaraderie here within the city. And that's something that's very positive. 74% feel a sense of belonging at the city. Now, this number may be due to, again, that segmentation based on location, based on department, can be a little bit challenging to have that sense of belonging, but definitely something, still strong majority, still something obviously we want to continue to foster. Now, here we have 51% disagree that all employees are treated equally and fairly. So this is definitely something that we want to address. And I think your Veritas cultural assessment really addresses this pretty well in terms of what areas might need some growth. So I'm not going to belabor that point because I think that they kind of hammered it pretty strong. 47% agree that they've seen significant DEIB improvements. Again, I know that was something that the city is working towards. Of note here, we have 22% of employees who are unsure, which indicates that you might just not be aware of what's going on in terms of the DEIB initiatives. And so that's an indication that we want to make sure that what is being done is being communicated and that those improvements are being made and communicated effectively. 74% agree that teamwork and collaboration are encouraged and embraced by management. So pretty good numbers there. 64% agree that they receive information about changes or important happenings in a timely manner. So we want to just, again, continue those open communication channels, make sure everybody knows what's going on and when they need to know it. 77% agree that workplace culture in their department is generally good and positive. So for the most part, things are looking really good for that cultural perspective within every department. 62% agree that the city provides them with the opportunity to advance in their career. 77% agree that they are growing professionally. 54% agree that they see a path to advance their career at the city. And so again, this ties into that recommendation that we have is of just making sure that you all know where you can go next in your career with the city, and really seeing the city as a long-term option for you. And so really laying out those clear plans for growth at each individual role level within each department, we think will be effective in helping everyone to see that path. This question we asked just amongst people who were in some kind of management position. They manage others or departments. So 86% say that they regularly seek feedback from their employees, and 88% say that they regularly are providing feedback. So it's good we have some open communication happening in both ways. All right, and then we looked at which of the following are personally important to you in deciding if you are satisfied with a job. And so among these kind of top 3 things that we see, it's work, personal life balance, pay, and the work environment and the culture. And you can see it kind of tapers off from there of what's most important, but all things that we want to continue to obviously look towards, because these are what is valuable to you as an employee. And then we asked, kind of those same items, which are you personally satisfied with as an employee? And so what you're most satisfied with is your opportunity to serve the public, the benefits that you received, as well as your coworker relationships. Again, we kind of saw that throughout the open-ended responses as well. So this kind of just breaks down those items. If we look across the bottom here, this is how important it is to you as employees. So the further right you go, the more important it was. And then satisfaction, so the higher you go, the more satisfied you are. And so it's this box right here on this kind of bottom right corner. Those are what we're going to call your growth opportunities. So the things that these are important, we want to make sure that we are boosting these numbers. All right, we then looked at who can telework. Currently, we have about 62% of employees who say that they can telework, 20% do not, and 38% saying that their jobs cannot be performed remotely. And then we gave you essentially the choice of what do you think in terms of telework options, and 69% say yes, those who can perform should be able to do so. We then asked you in an open-ended response, what do you like most about working at the City of Falls Church? And we coded all of these and we categorized them and quantified them. So you can see overwhelmingly what you guys like most work about Falls Church is your work environment, your culture, and your coworkers. We then asked the challenging question of what needs some work, essentially. And the lack of communication and transparency was that top response. And we can see that's kind of a theme throughout, is that communication, making sure that that is open. We asked, what suggestions do you have for leadership to maintain or improve the culture? Again, that clear communication and transparency and promoting fairness. And then this just breaks down how you all, the respondents of the survey, to that 68% broke down. So I want to thank you. I'm going to stop sharing so that, at least I think I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see everybody. And happy to answer questions or get out of the way and let you guys brainstorm and talk about this further.
So far there are not any questions in the chat. And I'm not having any questions through the town hall meeting email. Susan, have you gotten any questions?
Hi, this is Maggie. I don't think Susan is on, but I haven't gotten any questions.
You haven't, okay. And I don't see any hands raised either. Oh, Henry Zhang. Oh, thank you, Henry, for that nice introduction. Henry says, what is the next step? I will get into that. Another question is, are these results compared against industry benchmarks? I think we can answer that one right away. Alyce, do you want to speak to that?
So we have not made the formal connections in most cases. Industry benchmarks in this area can be a little bit more challenging to uncover because organizations do like to kind of keep that information to themselves. What we can do is provide the city, if requested, benchmarks that compare to kind of public service in general. If there are any publicly available reports that are made, again, it's not something that organizations typically put out because they want to keep this information often to themselves internally, but we certainly, if requested, will dig around, see what we can find in terms of those benchmarks to compare, particularly for public service agencies. I will say that your results look very good compared to what we typically see, the reports that we have seen on a large scale, particularly in public service, which can be a very demanding line of work, as you all know, since you are the ones doing it. You're often strapped for resources. You have a lot of demands from public. You have to answer to city councils, and there's a lot of dynamics happening within it. I would say that the City of Falls Church has very strong numbers compared to what we typically see for public service agencies.
And then Joe had a question. A majority of the people who took the survey are 0 to 10 years of tenure. Any thoughts on that in regards to overall outcome?
So we do not have, at least offhand, I don't have the breakdown of how that compares to the city's overall function. I think that's something that we could look at to see how representative that is. I will say that we did provide the city with kind of breakdowns based on that tenure, so that we can identify those areas in which case you may have longer tenured employees who are feeling maybe differently than those who fall within the 0 to 10 years of tenure. So that is data that was kind of parsed out. Again, obviously always maintaining the confidentiality of individual employees, but that is something that we do dig into further.
So I'm not seeing any other, oh, I just got a notification about email. So let me just double check that. Nope, not for this. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions, but people are more than welcome to add questions or raise your hand if you have a question. I will put up the slide about next steps. Thank you, Henry. Again. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can I get a thumbs up from somebody? Let's see.
I can see it, Jenny.
You can? Okay, great. Sorry, just pulling that up. Okay, so next steps. So we're calling this the employee, it's a really long title. The Employee Surveys / Cultural Assessment Action Plan. What we're looking at in terms of a timeline is between now and June of this year. And our action steps, so our first one gets a green check. We have delivered the survey results. The next step will be to hold facilitated conversation groups, and that will happen with the City of Falls Church trained facilitators in conjunction with the Veritas Culture facilitators. They are working on setting up dates for that. We are hoping for that to happen in the last, or at least get the first couple scheduled in the last 2 weeks of February. It may go into March a little bit. Then the next bullet is processing the information from those groups and surveys. So the facilitators will actually assess the information that is provided in the groups, maintaining confidentiality and anonymity, and they will provide that information to leadership. We'll also take a look at all of the surveys, the 2 surveys that have happened, in conjunction with a cultural assessment, process all that information. And then the next step is to hold employee and leadership prioritization work groups. So out of all that information, what are the top themes, action steps, items that are coming out of all of that information? And then have employee work groups, but also leadership work groups, look at all that information and complete exercises to prioritize those items. Then we would develop a work plan, and that would be employee driven. And then once the work plan is completed, that would be presented to senior leadership and employees as well. So we have a general outline of the next steps. And as this is an iterative process, as we move through doing all of this, I'm sure there are things that are going to come up where we're going to add to, or it'll give us better information so we can fine tune what we're doing. So once again, it is an iterative process. So it'll change a little bit as we're moving through it, as we get more information. But that is the general outline of what we'll be doing. So I'm going to stop sharing that slide. If there are any questions on the slide or the employee survey results, please go ahead and raise your hand or type in the chat. Maggie, do you have anything?
I do not see any emails in the town hall, and I have not received any items.
Okay. Okay. So I'd like to thank Alyce for the presentation and putting together the slides for employees. Once again, if there will be, our next steps include employee feedback. And so looking forward to hearing from employees. If you, as an employee, if you would like to chat with somebody, the facilitators are available. Right now, that's Joe Carter, Megan DeSell, and Nikki. And Nikki, I'm going to mess up your last name. I'm so sorry. Calavertinos.
You said it perfectly.
Excellent. So they are available, along with the EAC is always available. They have their email as well. And of course, myself, Andy, Wyatt, Steve Mason, the HR crew, any of those folks are available as well. So I think I'll turn it over to Wyatt to close us out, unless we get additional questions, in which case we will keep going.
Well, thank you, Jenny. And Alyce, thank you for that, for your work with our organization and for your expertise and for a very clear presentation. So just a couple of thoughts, just, on the plan that Jenny laid out. On one hand, the report is clear. It provides some key findings and some key recommendations. And we can all read those and sort of respond to those, but we wanted to take a little bit of time to have some conversations about these results, so that when, like one of the compelling findings about fairness and transparency in the organization, let's talk, what does that mean to people? Let's have conversations about that, structured and facilitated, so that there can be then outcomes and sort of direction that comes out of those conversations about how I can do things differently, how we collectively can do things differently to improve employee perception of how important decisions get made, that sense of kind of understanding the reasons behind those decisions and participation in those decisions. So rather than sort of just charging out to saying, here's what we're going to do about that recommendation, we want to have some conversations, learn more about that, and then take actions together that are well informed by the expertise that is throughout this organization and the really valid viewpoints that are in this organization. On communication, like that's, you know, like immediately I think about like how can we improve our communication? And I'd like to learn more about like employees. How do you like to receive information? What are your thoughts on how we could tactically improve in that area? But also like what are the key things that you want to know? And some of that might seem pretty obvious, but it is worthy of a conversation going forward. And then from that, take real clear actions and communicate the actions that we're taking and why we're taking them. So that's the process that Jenny, I think, has very thoughtfully developed and working with our facilitators to think through that process so we can have first some conversations and then direction to that about how we can change how we do things. So I'm looking forward to that. I really appreciate all the energy that is going into this broader conversation about who we are as an organization, what are, you know, how we can improve so that this is a place where employees are come to work feeling like it's a supportive environment, a productive environment, and we have alignment with each other in terms of what we're trying to get done here. So it's exciting stuff. It's important. And we're going to do this. You know, Jenny has laid out a sort of a process that takes us into June. And that is, I think, realistic and acknowledging that we have, you know, our day-to-day that we're working on, and that's intense. And also that this is an iterative process. We're going to learn from this survey. We're going to make changes in response to it together, and then we'll keep on going on the path of paying attention to our strengths and also trying to address areas where we need to improve. So thanks everybody. It's been great participation in this. 99 people have tuned in, and so that is awesome. And Jenny just raised her hand. I think she had another thing she wanted to say.
So we do have a hand raised. Scarlett, if you want to go ahead, you had a question?
Not a question, it's just a last call. It was a nice entrance. Wyatt was talking about communications and the recommendations
yes.
Alyce had mentioned with promoting interdepartmental communication and collaboration. The seat is still accepting emails or conversations about all of that as well. So please feel free. I'll send a reminder out today just so everyone can refresh your memory of the questions, but we are still open and excited to hear from employees.
Thank you, Scarlett. Thanks for your
Scarlett.
leadership on this, and it's right on time. It's a great thing that the seat is doing to take this on.
Yeah, thank you, Scarlett. Okay, one more last check of chat. Not seeing anything in the chat. I don't see any other hands raised. And one last check on with Maggie.
Nope, I don't have anything on my end.
So this employee town hall is being recorded. Maggie will upload it. We'll send out the link, and I will send out an email follow-up with the slide that I prepared on action steps, and then I'll send the employee survey results out again. But that was also sent out earlier. Both a PDF and a link was sent out to people, and we had a great group collaboration on printing out hard copies. So hard copies available in different sites within the city government as well. So with that, I think we are at a close. Alyce said, thank you all for having me and for your participation in the survey. A pleasure working with Falls Church again. Thank you, Alyce. And we'll follow up with you on the benchmarks question and the tenure question in terms of data. Okay, thank you from Eric, and a thank you from Alyce, thank you from Avery, to Alyce and everyone else. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.